Hi, my name's Aaron. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm a multidisciplinary artist, designer, curator, and facilitator. The exhibition Villiers Revealed, We Have Always Been Here, is about reclaiming power, the erasure of queerness, and situating the story of George Villiers in a more broader context to explore intersectional queer and trans narratives. The art that you see in the exhibition was co-created through workshops with LGBTQIA+ communities in and around Leicestershire. I wanted this exhibition to expand beyond the story of George Villiers. His queerness, despite his power, was speculated but largely ignored. But his story is part of a much broader history of how queerness has been suppressed, and it's important to ask why. While the West often presents itself as more progressive, in the 16th century, the same time George Villiers lived, there were laws criminalising queer people. And it was these same laws that persecuted queer people in Britain and kept George Villiers' identity hidden, that were then imposed on non-Western countries through colonialism, suppressing queerness globally. And that's an impact that's still felt today. Before colonialism, lots of indigenous and pre-colonial cultures had documented queerness, gender fluidity, and third genders just as part of spirituality in society. For example, South Asia's Hijra community has existed for over 4,000 years. And for many of us queer people, queerness is deeply tied to ancestry, is tied to lineage, race, culture, ethnicity, and these facets can't really be separated from our queerness and transness, they just flow through us. But colonialism did enforce these rigid binaries and erased fluid understandings of gender and sexuality. So by using Villiers' portrait as a starting point, this exhibition aims to challenge those erasures. It fills in the gaps, uncovers what has always been, and honours queer identities across time and cultures, and also how we relate to and reclaim these histories today. Trans, non-binary, and gender diverse people, particularly people of colour, have always had their histories distorted or erased, but we've always existed. And for queer people, history isn't always fixed. It's something that we're constantly reshaping, rewriting, and exploring. And this exhibition becomes part of that process. So the works that you see in the exhibition were informed by 4 creative workshops with LGBTQIA+ participants. These workshops explored fluidity across different cultures, from identity and community, through creating expressive collages and portrait-based collages, and also collective poetry. So the first workshop was in collaboration with Dorsty, a support group for South Asian and Middle Eastern LGBTQ+ people. And in that workshop, we created the large collective tapestry. And we began by participants tracing their silhouettes onto fabric as a way to collectively claim space and embody their stories. And by using prompts, the group responded through painting, collaging, writing, and also conversations. And as the workshop went on, the fabric became deeply layered with lots of collage, paint, textiles, jewels, and glitter. Another workshop was with an LGBTQ+ youth group, and in that space we created collage-based silhouette portraits, and that was about layering and shaping these silhouettes that express queer and trans experiences. And similarly, in an online workshop, we mailed participants creative packs with prompts and materials so people can kind of take part in their own spaces. And then together in an online space, we created our own collages, which kind of went by similar themes of reclaiming identity. And a key part of the workshop was a poetry workshop facilitated by Nikita, who is a multidisciplinary artist, poet, and writer. And that workshop was in collaboration with Queer Coffee Linkups, and it explored historic examples of gender fluidity from indigenous Mexico to Southeast Asia to the Pacific Islands, and also West Africa and other areas as well. And participants then free wrote poetry, contributing a line each to form a collective poem, which you can see flows throughout the exhibition, connecting to the artworks. And the illustrations that I created for the exhibition respond directly to these workshops and conversations. I wanted them to embody the idea of these queered and layered portraits. So I created these fluid and cosmic gender-bending figures inspired by all the silhouettes and lines that emerged in those workshops, and also collaged into them are actual elements from the collages that participants made. So in a way, these portraits themselves hold multiple identities, histories, and stories, and just reflecting the way that queer communities can be so distinct while staying very interconnected. And the illustrations are also inspired by lines from the collective poem. A recurring theme which came out of that poem was water, and that was a symbol of gender fluidity, just reminding us that we were never meant to fit inside the binary lines imposed by society. And within these artworks, you'll also find historic examples of gender and sexual fluidity across different cultures embedded within them. And I think I really wanted them to feel different to Villiers' portrait, which is also an example of a queer portrait, but it's a more singular, controlled image that evokes a lot of power, whereas these works reflect a more collective, evolving, uncovering and expansive, layered expression of queerness. And this exhibition is not an endpoint for the histories and stories that we explore here. It really just is a starting point. It invites us to continue uncovering these histories that have shaped queer and trans people and narratives, and also to claim agency in shaping them ourselves. I think it's important to engage with them, to see ourselves within them, and also to actively participate in expanding and rewriting them. Queerness has always existed, and we've always been here, and I think it's more important now than ever to claim that and feel power in imagining the futures we want to build as queer people.